this video, we're going to cover the questions on homework number 25. For the first section, they ask you to find the slope of the points given. The slope formula, which is shown here on the upper right, asks you to subtract the y coordinates and then subtract the x coordinates. If you need to, you may want to label each of your points so that you're putting them in the right position when you set up your giant subtraction fraction. So 7 minus 3 and negative 10 minus negative 5. You can certainly use a calculator, and you can even use the fraction button on your calculator, like this one here, and you can put all of the math in at one time. So we could press that fraction button, and we could type 7 minus 3 in the numerator, and then arrow down and type negative 10 minus negative 5 in the denominator, and it will give us our answer in fraction form. Negative 4/5. Second fraction here is 6 minus 1 over 3 minus 3, which is 5 over 0. Anytime your fraction has a 0 in it, you must go one step further and interpret it. A 0 in a fraction can either mean that it is undefined, or that it is a zero slope. So undefined or a zero slope. So a 0 in the denominator means it is undefined. And if you can't remember which one it is, simply use your calculator, type 5 divided by 0, and if you get an error message, that means it's undefined. The third one here is 4 minus 4 over 2 minus negative 8, which is 0 over 10. And a 0 in the numerator actually means 0 slope. Again, you could always try dividing 0 by 10 and proving that the answer is in fact 0 and not undefined. For the last one here, 6 minus 7 over 5 minus negative 3, or negative 1 over 8. Let's take a look at the next section. Next section asks you to write the equation of the line. An equation of a line is written in this format, where the y-intercept is the b value and the slope is the n value. You can also write your sentence in that order. Since the first thing you'll be looking at is the y-intercept, you might want to write that value first. Then, since you're looking for another perfect corner point, and you are tracing the direction, right, with that slope triangle, your delta y and your delta x, then we know our slope is negative 1 over positive 3. Negative 1 over positive 3 with an x. You could also leave this 0 off. For the second one here, we have a y-intercept of 1, and then our slope triangle to that next corner point will have a rise of negative 1 and a run of positive 4, or negative 1/4 with an x. Our last one has a y-intercept of negative 1, and its slope triangle will be down 3 and right 2, giving us an equation of negative 3/2 x. Now you could certainly reverse all of these equations. You could write this as negative 1/4 x plus 1, and you could write this one as negative 3/2 x minus 1. For the next section, they ask you to find the volume of a cylinder, so you'll have to look that up on your reference sheet if you don't know it. And then you have to erase and replace the radius and the height. So the radius is 6.2, the height is 4.3. They ask us to round to the nearest tenth, so that means I know right away that I can type in this entire sentence using the pi button, and then I can either use a time sign or I can write the parentheses exactly how I see them on my paper. I'm going to use the square key and the 4.3. And when I press enter, I'm going to get a really long answer, and then I'm going to round to the nearest tenth. So that means all of this will be removed, but before I remove it, I need to look at this next value to decide if the 2 should remain a 2 or if it should round up to 3. 8 is large enough to round up, so this will be 3. Don't forget cubic units. The next question asks you to solve some equations, and if you look carefully, you might notice that number 9 is a perfect match. When the left side and the right side are a perfect match, or both your coefficients and variable terms and your constant terms are a perfect match, that means you have infinite solutions. The second sentence, we have to distribute. Half of 6x is 3x, half of 12 is 6. We're going to use the additive inverse to add 6 to both sides, and then we're going to use the multiplicative inverse to divide every term by 3 and give us our final answer of -2. If you look carefully at number 11, it's almost a perfect match. The variable terms are good, but the constant term is bad. And when you don't have a full match, but your variables match, that means you have no solution. The final section asks you to graph each equation. So I'm going to start by graphing the y-intercept, then I'm going to follow the slope. So I'm going to start by graphing 4, and then I'm going to rise 2 and run 1. If it doesn't fit on the grid, simply reverse the direction. Instead of rising up 2 and right 1, you're going to go left and down. So 2 down, 1 left, 2 down, 1 left, 2 down, 1 left, 2 down, 1 left. Giving you that nice straight line, which is going uphill, which makes sense because that's a positive slope. The second line has an invisible y-intercept, that means it goes through the origin, and the slope is -3 over +1. -3, +1. Down 3, right 1. Down 3, right 1. If it goes off the grid, you can reverse it. Instead of down 3, go up 3. Instead of right 1, go left 1. The last sentence is missing a letter. That means it's either a vertical or horizontal line. An x-only sentence is undefined. That means it needs to be vertical, and it needs to touch the x-axis at -1. Question number 15 asks you to dilate by a scale factor of 2. That means everything in this point will be multiplied by 2. Final answer is -8 and 16. Question 16 asks us to find which one has the greater rate of change. You can find the rate of change from a table by using the delta y over delta x formula. And for us, that's 4 minus 0, or 0 minus 4, and 2 minus 0, which is 4 over 2, which has a rate of change of 2. When you find the rate of change from a graph, you can count the rise and run. Delta y is 6, the delta x is 4. 6 over 4 is the same as 3 over 2, which is the same as 1.5. So function A has a rate of change of 2, which is greater than function B, which has a rate of change, I'm calling it an ROC, of 1.5. And that concludes the video for homework 25.